Hi all, good morning. So happy to see everyone's faces here. I know it's hot, so despite that, folks are coming in and it makes me really happy. My name is Samra Shwaib. I am the program manager here at the Humanities Institute of the New York Botanical Garden. I am so pleased to invite Journey here with my colleague, Vanessa Sellers. Vanessa, you always bring the most beautiful things to fruition. This is going to be a fourth gathering in a series of our Foodways Workshop, which explores the relationship of food to culture and healing in the Bronx, the borough in which the garden stands. The New York Botanical Garden is located in the ancestral homeland of the Lenape Delaware people. We honor them and acknowledge their displacement, dispossession, and continued presence. Today, we're very fortunate to have Journey here, who has become a good friend over the course of this period. Journey is a well-known Bronx forager, herbalist, and community leader who is passionate about educating local families on how to use native plants for health and well-being. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Journey here. Growing up in Kinshasa, Congo, she learned to forage alongside her grandmother and continued developing her skills in woods and meadows when she moved to France. So you're very well traveled. Her background is a mix of ancestral knowledge, oral histories, observations in nature, and formal courses in botany. Since 2017, she has been the co-chair of the Bronx River Foodway at Concrete Plant Park, one of New York City's rare sustainable food landscapes, and its only edible food forest where people can legally forage. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to legally forage. She is the CEO and founder of Each One Carry One, whose mission is to improve and sustain the health and wellness of Black families within the African diaspora. She will be taking us on a meaningful discovery today, showing us where and how to find healing plants right here in the Bronx. Please welcome Journey.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I'm Journey. I'm a little nervous, so don't mind me. So yes, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to share with you some information about my culture, my country, and kind of give you guys a little tour on how I got to here. And what I'm hoping to accomplish is sharing information about foraging plants and how it relates to us individually as a culture, and what we can do moving forward with nature, with the plants, especially here in the Bronx, because here in the Bronx we have a multitude, the whole entire New York City state, of various cultures, right? Everybody comes from various places, and everybody brings in information that is extremely valuable because there's nature all over the world. So there's no one culture with no access to nature or no type of nature knowledge. We all have that. And because we are in a space where we are all together, and we are in a new space of discovery, of wanting to get back in touch with nature, learn more about plants, what we can do with them. It puts us in a really special place to come together and share that information. This is something we all have in common. I always see that as something that can bring, the community at large together, despite our differences, despite of all of the ism, right, that surrounds us, that we are constantly butting heads in. And I just think like something that brings everybody together, that is for everybody. Plants, nature belongs to the people. So as a people, I want us to come together and share that information, swap that knowledge, and get down to the ground and take care of the land, right? This is all of our land, and we are responsible for this land, and we have to take care of it. But it's difficult to take care of it without certain knowledge, right? So that's what we're kind of going to get into now. Oops. 1 second. So what is nature? I put this up here as in what is nature because sometimes we can get aware of ourselves a little bit. And what I'm seeing a lot with our nation and culture is that there's nature and there's us, right? We always talk of nature as this outside thing, entity that we can dip in and out of. So this particular definition says, various one, all animals, plants, roots, etc. in the world, and all of the features, forces, and processes that happens or exist independently of people, such as the weather, the sea, mountains, production of young animal or plants, and growth, right? All of that is nature. The force that is responsible for physical life, the physical world and everything in it, right? All of that is nature. That includes us too, right? We are all nature and we play a part in nature. So let's not look at nature as this outside entity. We are part of it. I love this picture because this is how I see the Bronx, you know? This is my view of the Bronx. The Bronx, many people see in many different ways. I came to a place where I wanted to get to know the Bronx, not through the history of the people, because I've done that, right? And that just kind of pushed me away. It didn't bring me closer. I wanted to learn the Bronx through the history of the land, through the land, right? I wanted the land to tell me its story. I wanted to connect with it through the land and see what I can find. And this is one of the many things that I found, and I love it. Different views. This is still the Bronx, and the many places that I like to go with my family, sometimes by myself, sometimes with family, sometimes with class, and we'll just spend our times out in nature. So this right here is the continent of Africa, and right smack in the middle is my home, the Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. That's where I'm from. I was born there. So this is our flag. We have other flags before, so this is our newest one. And right here is the map. So where it says Kinshasa, that's actually where I was born. My side of the family is from the lower end of the Congo. Now, if you look at the top where it says Aturi Forest, so I'm gonna share some information about the people and the culture of that part of the Congo. So this is the Congo Basin, the Congo River. It's a really large river that runs across other countries outside the Congo, such as Cameroon is one of them. Congo is also the second largest country in Africa. It is the most rich country in terms of mineral. We have a lot of mineral, gold, tantalum, tungsten, tin, our beautiful cell phones, a lot of our electronics. We have those electronics today because of the minerals that is found in the Congo. If we didn't have access to that, this wouldn't be here. Okay, so although it is one of the richest countries in terms of mineral, it is one of the poorest countries in the world. The people of the Congo, we have over 200 ethnic groups and over 250 languages. But there are some languages that are formal that we can all communicate with, such as Lingala. Lingala, everybody in the Congo knows how to speak Lingala. Swahili is another one. Not everybody speaks Swahili in the Congo. Depending on what tribe you come from, you might be more on the Swahili side. Then there's Chuluba, which is specific to a particular group in the Congo. That's the language that they speak. And then there is Kikongo. Kikongo was the original, before Lingala, before it was Kikongo. Now, the Congo was colonized by the Belge, so we speak French. But we wasn't colonized by the French. Sometimes people get that confused because we speak French, they think French. No, it was the Belge. Now, humans have inhabited the forest of the Congo, and specifically the Aturi forest that I showed you guys in the map, for tens of thousands of years. So the basin, the Congo River, it provides food, medicine, water, materials, and shelter for over 75 million people. The Congo is the Earth's second largest river by volume. Draining an area of 3.7 million square kilometers. Much of the basin is covered by rich tropical rainforest and swamps. So together, these ecosystems make up the bulk of Central Africa rainforest, which at 170 million hectares. Okay, so that's the second largest rainforest. Okay. So we have, So there are 150 ethnic groups right along the basin of the Congo River, right? And out of those groups, we have the Baka. They live in southern Cameroon. So all of these groups that I'm going to be talking about, they travel along the forest, the rainforest. So the Baka, southern Cameroon. Then we have the Twa, central Congo, so right in the middle of the Congo. We have the Aka, Central African Republic, so that's another country, and then the northern Congo. Then we have the Mbuti. The Mbuti, they are in the northern eastern Congo, specifically Aturi Forest. That's where they reside. Now, this group of people are referred to as pygmies. You guys will probably have heard them as pygmies, right? And they were called that because they are very small in stature. The oldest member of their oldest or tallest might be 5 feet, and that's pushing it, right? So that's why they call them pygmy. However, I will really encourage everyone moving forward not to refer to them as pygmy. That was never a term that they liked. They have also, expressed their dislike of that word. So there's different groups. There's the Batwa, there's the Aka, there's the Mbuti, there's the Efe. So it's good to call them by the name of the group that they identify with, right? Not what we see and think is best for them. So this is them in the forest, Aturi Forest. They possess an incredible knowledge of the forest. They are known as the keepers of the forest. They are known as the children of the forest. Anything about the forest, they know it all, right? They are one of Africa's oldest indigenous group of people. The Bambuti or the Mbuti, which is another way of saying it, they live in the Aturi Forest, Eastern Congo. They are the shortest out of the group. So they are shorter than the Efe, they are shorter than the Batwa and the other ones in terms of height. Now, traditionally, they are nomadic, right? They move around. They never stay in one place for too long. They will find a spot, in the forest, and they will make their home. They will stay there for a while, and then they'll move again. They tend to follow game. They tend to go wherever food is at. That's where they will move to. Now, when they establish camp, just think of it like when you go camping, right? You're looking to find the best spot to put your tent and all of that stuff. That's if you're going to a place that's not already catered to camping, right? You want to find the best spot. So they do the same thing. They look for the best place, and they will clear any underground, small tree, sapling, and then they will just use whatever's there to make their home. So this way, they leave the forest undisturbed. They're using what's there, and when it's time to move, because they're using leaves, twigs, and all of these things that are already natural, when it's time to go, it just breaks down, and nothing is disturbed, nothing is removed. So the forest is actually well kept in that way. So this is them settling in their camp in the forest. So the good thing about these particular tribe, even the other groups too, although they are in the forest and they depend on the forest for everything, they go back and forth into the villagers that are near them, right? The villagers that are near them, they don't go into the forest. They stay. They raise their cattle, right? They are gardening. They are cultivating the land. That's what they are doing. The Mbuti, they don't do that. Everything that they gain, everything that they live off of comes from that. But, if you forage or if you ever watch those shows, Surviving Alone or, Survivor, all of these things, you can see how it can get if you go too long without eating. And out in the forest, food is not always available 24/7, right? So what they ended up doing is that they partner up with villagers and they do exchange. So the villagers will give them some root vegetables, right? And then in exchange, the Mbuti will give the villagers honey. They'll share their honey with them. They'll share their games. They'll share meat with them. So there was a really good understanding between the two. Now, we may not see as a fair change, right? Because there are times where the Mbuti were not able to provide the villagers with the meat, right? Because meat is not always available. It's not like go to the supermarket, you go to the butcher, you have constant meat and you can just keep ordering. So the villagers will supply them on a consistent basis with root vegetables and things of that nature. But the Mbuti, they couldn't supply the villagers on a consistent basis, but it was well known, right? Everybody understood that because they know, well, once they get the animals, once they get the honey, they will bring it back. So that's the exchange that they have, and it was like one per family. That's how they kept it. And the villagers, in the Congo, we did not, and we still don't appreciate the Mbuti and the rest of the tribe. We see them as a nuisance. Okay, we're like looking at them like, okay, why are you still in the forest? Put on some clothes, go take a shower, get a job like everybody else, and come on, you're making us look bad. That's how most of us feel, because it's like, come on, why? And for them, is that this is my home. They like it. They find their lifestyle to be what they want. They see the villagers. They know what the villagers do, and they're not interested in that. However, because the villagers are they're friendly, right? But they have their own thoughts, their own way of thinking. They stay out of the forest. The villagers do not go into the forest. Okay, so that's why that relationship is important, because anything they want for the forest, they just get it from them. They see the forest as an evil place. They see the forest places where you can get hurt, all kinds of things can happen. But for this particular tribe, these people that live in the forest, their view and understanding of the forest is not the same. So they laugh at the villagers who speak of sorcery and witchcraft and all of this stuff, or like, oh no, there's evil spirits in the forest. So they listen to them and was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing, So that just works out. That works out better for them, and they get to keep that alliance going. So the Mbuti, they see the forest as a sacred place, a peaceful place to live. They have a symbiotic, they have an amazing relationship with the forest. They sing to the forest, they dance to the forest, and all of the living things in there, the trees, the plants, all of that stuff, it's celebrated. There is no life in the forest that they are not thankful for. That is just their way of being. When there is a death, when something bad happens, there is something called mulimo. And they have this one instrument that is made in the forest with things of the forest. They hide it in the forest. It never comes out of the forest. Villagers have never seen it. And whenever something tragic happens, they will pull it out, and then you will hear these various songs. You'll hear cries, you will hear songs, you will hear growling. So between them crying and singing, and then the sound of the mulimo, it's really, really, really intense, and it'll happen for a while, and then over the night, it'll kind of fade away. So they'll pull it out to use it when it's needed, and then they'll put it back, but it never leaves the forest. And you have to go through a ritual to actually be able to see what the mulimo looks like. If you haven't gone through the ritual, you can't see it. So that is one of the things that they do. But when they don't bring out the mulimo and something bad happens and doesn't go their way, they sing to the forest, because for them, it's like, okay, if something happens back to us, that just means that the forest must have been sleeping. The forest was sleeping and didn't see what happened. So let's wake the forest up. Right, let's wake the spirit of the forest up to let them know what's going on so that we can be assisted. So they will sing to kind of bring attention to whatever issue that they're having that they want the forest to be aware of so that they can be helped. So this is them celebrating and singing. For many thousands of years, there's just been in and out of the forest, but nothing too far out. They come out of the forest is strictly just to go to the villages and take part of whatever. Sometimes they take part in rituals that happens with the villagers. The villagers are very strong-minded people. They like what they like, they want what they want, they believe what they believe, and that's it, right? They don't really give too much room. But the Batwa and the Mbuti people, they're very easygoing type of people. They don't care what you think, what you believe in, as long as it doesn't, get in their way of what they believe. They couldn't care less. So the villagers have a certain way of burying the dead, right? The Batwa and the Mbuti, they're not really strict or specific about it. So they do go to the villagers and let them guide them through the way of having a funeral. That whole thing, they will let them do it, and they'll follow along until a point where it's like, okay, now we need to do our own thing. Then they will remove themselves and go ahead and continue to do what they want to do. But for the most part, they do take part in that with them. They know how to distinguish certain vines, right? Because even when you go foraging, there's a lot of plants that look alike. So because they're in there for so long, they can identify certain plants. They know the look-alike very well. They also use the sounds of the animal to assist them in knowing where certain things are. Honey is a big commodity back home. And to get the honey, the trees are really, really tall, and they have to climb that, right? But how do they know where the honey's at? They listen, okay? They listen because the birds, the lizards, right? They listen for certain sound. They will let them know exactly where it is. So they know the sounds of all of the various animals and insects are making, while we will go in there and we'll find certain sounds annoying and aggravating. They're like, oh, okay, there's honey on that tree over there, and that's where they'll go get it. So that is how they forage for some of the things that they have. So to the outsiders, the forest is an evil place. But for them, it's their sanctuary, it's their peace, it's everything to them. And it's full of sounds, exciting, mysterious, and mournful and joyful at the same time too, right? So when we usually go out in the woods for hiking, we're looking for peace and quiet, right? We usually tend to look for that. But if you allow your senses, right? Because anytime you go into nature, you want to depend on your senses. It's your senses that you need when you go specifically into the woods and forests. Pay attention to your senses. What are you hearing? Because it's never quiet. It's never quiet. There's always sounds going. And the more you do that, you too will be able to know, like you hear a sound, oh, that's a chipmunk. Nope, that's a squirrel. Oh, that's a blue jay. That's a robin. Like it seems like, well, how am I supposed to tell? It will come naturally. But the more you're in that space, And the more you hear, trust me, last year, well, 2 years ago was my first time where was able to, I heard the sound of the squirrel for the first time. You know, like I've seen squirrel my whole life, but I never paid attention to the sound, like their own specific sound, right? They've made sound all the time, but I've never paid attention until about 2 years ago. And then once that clicked in, anytime I hear, I was like, oh, shoot, that's a squirrel. And I get so excited and giddy about it because I can tell the difference amongst many other noises that's happening. So the more you immerse yourself, right, then the more you can recognize, and then it will awaken other parts within you that's been dormant. So yeah, they know the tiny sounds, right? Where the bees have hidden their honey. They recognize the kind of weather that brings a multitude of different kinds of mushroom springing to the surface. And they also know what kind of woods and leaves often disguise to food as well. And again, like these are things that you get also just by foraging, because when you're foraging, it's not just of, ooh, I see a plant, let me pick it. Ooh, I recognize a plant, let me pick it. It's much deeper than that. It's the whole system. It's the weather. Certain plants don't come until certain times of the year. Certain plants, if it's too hot, you're not going to see them. If it's too cold, you're not going to catch them. You know, certain plant or certain mushroom, they grow under certain types of trees. So there's all of these things that you can really only learn and get in once you make contact with the plants, right? You see a plant, okay, that's mugwort, great. You know it's mugwort. Now look around. What's growing around it, right? What's the environment look like? And do you see it like that every single time, every single season, right? So you want to come back every season and look at that plant. Is there anything different? You know, have you ever seen mugwort flower? If you know mugwort, but you've never seen a flower, then you're not watching, you're not paying attention, right? So when you pay attention, you do get the opportunity to do that. Because I've been foraging for a while, I know, especially in the fall, I love the fall because there's so much things that come in, but when it rains, I know that the next day I'm out in the woods because there's gonna be plenty of mushroom, okay? Rain brings mushroom, and the type of mushroom that I'm looking for, when it rains, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go, then right the next day. So now when it rains, I'm excited. Before, when it was raining, it'll piss me off because I'm like, oh, now I gotta stay in the house. So now it rains, I'm like, ooh, mushrooms. So it changes things for you a bit. So they see the forest life being full, satisfactory, and village life seems empty and meaningless. So these are the Mbuti women. They're on their way to forage. Another thing that they do too that they help the villagers with is to harvest their things, because the villagers, they're growing many crops and they need help with harvesting. They need help with many things. So they will ask them to come and help them, and which for the most part they do. So yeah, so they are the keepers of the forest, the children of the forest. And when nature calls, remember this, when nature calls, they have to answer. For them, there's no if, buts about it. They have to answer. That's their home, and they can't live any other way. So bringing into modern time, right, there's still a bunch of them living through, but the issue now is that they're being displaced. So there's a lot of problems because their home, they were never given the rights to stay in those areas. So they are fighting between becoming regular citizen and staying in their forest. So they're more it's a losing battle the way that things looks right now. Okay, all right. So I'm going to talk about one more person within this tribe, and it's really that's what actually led me to here, not to come here, but led me to where I'm at, the space that I'm at here. So this is Mbai Otabenga. And Mbai Otabenga is a Congolese man, part of the Mbuti tribe. He used to live in the Congo. And he was brought here. He was brought here. Before he came to the United States, he was brought to Europe when there used to be human zoos. And Europeans felt like, well, this will be a great way of showing the world these people that they didn't think at the time that they were human. They considered them to be apes, they considered them to be anything but men. It just didn't make sense to them at the time. So they were used as an exhibition. Then they were brought here at the Bronx Zoo. And initially when it was brought at the Bronx Zoo, it was for him to help with the elephants, various African animals, because he was well knowledge on that. That's what he was brought here for. But then when people would come to the zoo, they were coming to see him versus to see the animals. So then they decided, well, since they're coming to see him, how about we put him as an exhibit? So they put him in the monkey cage, with the monkey house. When you go to the Bronx Zoo, there's where you have all of the apes and they show you all the variation. So he was in one of those cages. They put him there with other apes. And in September 10th, we're going to skip a little bit. September 10th, 1906, that's when the exhibition here in New York was open. And 400,000 people a day will show up to watch that exhibit. They will laugh at him to make it even more better for the public. They would throw in some bones in there. They had him frolic with the apes, with the orangutan that was in there. And as many people that were enjoying watching that, there was also many people that was repulsed by that. It was like, that you can't do that, right? So there was a group of African-American minister led by James H. Gordon, who they made a big protest and found a way to get him out of the zoo. And then he was sent to a conservation, but he was sent to Brooklyn Asylum for children. And he stayed there for a little bit. And then after that, he was transferred out of there. And he went to Lynchburg, Virginia, where he lived with other African-American family. And they brought him over there because they wanted to immerse him into the culture. They wanted him to learn how to read. They wanted him to become civilized, right? And they felt that if he was among other Black people, it will be better for him. But unfortunately for Otabenga, he missed his home. He wanted to get back. He wanted to go back into the forest. And he did everything to go back, and it didn't happen. A lot of time he will go and sleep into the woods. So there was a perfectly fine bed in him in the house, but he will venture into the woods and sleep there. And it happened and went on for so long that after a while, he just couldn't take it. And he borrowed a shotgun from the people that were assisting him, and he shot himself in the heart, and he died. He did that because he felt like, well, this was his only way of going back home. That if he were to kill himself, that his soul would return back to the Congo. So it always gets me emotional because it's horrible. It's horrible. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a space where you were taken away from your home and all you've ever wanted is just to go back, and have not been able to do that. And I can relate to his story because, he's not specifically from my tribe, but I was brought here and I was left here as a child. And at the time I was living in France, and I've never had the chance to go back. So I know what it's like to mourn and want to go back. And you spend your whole entire time, dreaming of the space. I spend most of my time in the United States waiting for the day I'll be able to go back home and see my mom. And then she passed, and that dream just vanished and died. And I've been here since 1996. So I was always asked, like, do you want to be a citizen? You can do your citizenship. And I wasn't comfortable. I didn't want to be a citizenship. I was like, for what? With all the racism thing going on, and then, this story, I will go to the zoo, and I always feel awkward because those same cages, those exact same ones, well, not exact same one, but the space in the ground that I'm in wasn't meant for my home. That was treated like an animal. Now I'm seeing gorillas. It's still part of my home. So it was very difficult. So I was like, no, I'm not quite sure. I'll just stay and, with my green card for as long as possible. But because I started foraging and I started to get back into nature and learn through the land, that changed my whole view completely. Because one thing that I took away from this is that although I didn't make it back home yet, I did make this my home. And in order for me to do that comfortably, I had to immerse myself into the land, and foraging helped me do that. Every time I go out foraging, I'm connecting with the plant. It's not about the people, it's not about the history. It removes that because it has nothing to do with the land. The nature, the trees, all of that didn't do all of these things, So getting to know the Bronx in that way made me feel like, okay, that I was ready. And one of the ways, when I say when nature call, they must answer. And that happened to me. I was sitting at home and something came in and was just like, you know what? In August, you need to be buried. And I was just like, buried? Like, what? And I called my friend. I was like, listen, I don't know what this is all about, but whatever it is, in August, we got to do something. We're going to be buried. She was like, buried? I was like, yeah, you're going to bury me to the ground. And I said, if I get anything else, I'll let you know. And I just followed whatever instruction was coming to me. And I saw it as a way for me to kind of let go of all of my trauma, all of my thing that was holding me back. We found a spot upstate New York, and my friend dug up a hole. I brought pictures of my grandparents because I wanted them there with me. And they buried me. I was buried. I stayed in there. It was like, I wanted the whole thing. I wanted to be under. But when I came out of it, I came out a different person. It's like the earth, the story literally really took away all of the things that I was struggling with. And when I came out of that, I've been in the woods ever since. Like anytime you see me, anytime I'm around, I'm always in the woods. I'm always foraging. I wasn't always doing that. But that helped me. That was that answer. And the deeper I got, the more calls I get. So I told you guys about the mushroom. I'm sitting at home again, minding my business, watching TV. And I get this pull, and it's telling me to go to Vancouver. And I'm like, for what? No, I'm comfortable watching movie, my reality TV show, very comfortable. I was like, nope, I'm not going. But it's like, it's a constant pull. And then finally I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just go. And I went, and when I got there was mushrooms everywhere. And what mushroom was that? Turkey tail. There was a bunch of turkey tail everywhere. I was just like, oh! If you're a foreigner, you're just like, oh my God, all of this turkey tail. And ever since then, anytime I feel or I get a call or whatever pulls me towards nature, I don't turn it down. I go and see what it is, because every time I've done that, there's always been something there for me. If I want something, a plant that I've never seen before, I will say, I was like, you know what? I want to get some honeysuckles. I want to see some honeysuckles, And I'm sharing this because I want you guys to listen to yourself and see what comes in. I got outside and I just followed my intuition. I didn't know where I was going. Literally just got outside and just walked. When it says turn left, I turn right, I turn. And then eventually a wall full of honeysuckles. So I was taken aback by then, and I was just like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to train myself in that. Because it's one thing for it to happen, but then you have to train yourself in trusting you and what can come out of it. So Good?
Yeah, you have 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Okay. So for the last 5 minutes, we're going to be skipping some things. But, so this is me, plant foraging. I love me some plants. This is me in the woods. So the picture on the other side is Mbuti. And then this is me. I love this picture because on knowing, I didn't know that a lot of things that I was doing was some of the things that they also did. So I love that. Yeah, so this is how I spend my time. So every season, this is the fall. The bottom is the fall. The middle, it's fall and summer a little bit, and the top is the spring. So that's my kitchen table every year, every single time, because of what we actually have here. It's just in the Bronx. But I just want to hit on foraging real quick, is that foraging is not legal in New York. So there's like a gray area with it. So there's certain spots you can and certain spots that you cannot. However, the foraging laws that we have did not, the way that it started, it was to keep Native and Black people out of the woods, out of properties, right? Because once after the Civil War, when Black people were freed, they already knew the land. They already knew plants, right? They were excited. And in that excitement meant, okay, if we're hungry, we know where to go get food and all these things. But then they put those laws in place. So they couldn't go out and forage and get the food. They couldn't get everything that they needed. They were kept out of land. Okay, they were kept out of spaces. That's why those laws was put there initially. And they stayed, right? So they weren't able to do that. So now, fast-forwarding to now, that's not why they are there now, right? Now is more so because protecting plants. That's the reason, to protect plants. That's why they are there. However, I call BS on that, because the people that you kept away from doing that, now that you're saying, who are you protecting the plants from, right? Because you banned a whole list of people. So who are you protecting them from? And that law, it takes away our natural rights, because it keeps us out of nature. It keeps us disconnected. And the longer we are disconnected from nature, all of these good things we're trying to do with an environment will not work. Because if our children are disconnected, that they don't know that that's a cherry tree and that's a cherry that's growing and they can just pick and eat it, that's a problem. Because now every time they see plants or whatever, it's just whatever. I don't have to care for that. What does that have to do with me? I don't need that, but we need it. One of nature's job is to provide for us food, right? Shelter and medicine. The pandemic taught us that, because when everything went down, everybody started to do what? Hey, do you know an herb? Hey, all of a sudden, because when everything is out in terms of what man makes, we naturally fall back to nature. You can't naturally fall back into something that you have been kept away from. So it's important that we get back into it so we can properly take care of it. We can't take care of a land that we don't know. We can't. And the people that have been taking care of lands, whether they're coming from the outside or whether they're here, we have to get together so that we can do this properly, right? Because if we lose our land, we lose access to all of this, we lose. We will no longer be here. Even the medication that we have this day, we won't have any in the future, because that also require plants. And plants are living things, and they have to be respected, but to respect them, we have to know them. And to know them, we have to be in there with them. So I'm gonna stop here. Thank you.
Now this is the time to ask any questions that may come up for you all. Journey, if that's all right with
Yes.
you, we could do a short 15-minute Q&A.
Absolutely.
I think it's important to talk about sustainable harvesting. So, how do you address that?
I agree, it is. So the way I address that is education, right? Which is why I do classes. You don't just say, hey, here, go and forage, right? Because harvesting sustainably, knowing what plants to forage and not to forage in terms of if that plant is in danger, because that's a big thing. So I'll always say start with education, and I'll also say the easiest way to start too is for like spaces that do have land, right? To get with groups, whether it's forager group, herbalist, wildcrafter, and on a smaller basis, start to do things where it's a symbiotic relationship, kind of like the Mbuti and the villagers. Meaning, have a bunch of mugwort. I want to get rid of the mugwort. I want to get rid of burdock. All of these invasive species you want to get rid of that have medicinal and are edible. Get in contact. Like for me, I'm a forager. I love these things. You don't want it in your land? Sure, I'll come and I will remove them. So now there's this relationship that we have, and you don't have to poison your land to get rid of those plants. So we have to find a way on how we can use each other and educate others properly on the right way of doing it. Any other questions?
Can you speak a little bit about the concrete plant park?
Yes. So Concrete Plant Park is our only legal place where you can forage with no problem. And it's been there, don't quote me on this, but I will say at least for 5 years. And it's on Westchester Avenue off of Whitlock on the 6th Strand. And all the plants that are there, there's a lot of native plants, and you can go ahead and forage as much as you want. There is no pesticides. We do test the soil. Everything gets tested. We just encourage people to come and, of course, forage. But just like with harvesting sustainably, that's why we have tours and we teach people how to properly do it. But what I'm seeing is that people are reluctant. So there's two. There's people that are reluctant. They want to, but they're afraid, right? So they'll just take like a little bit. I'm like, you can take more. It's like, oh, by the time you get home, you're going to have this much once it dries up, right? And then you have people who are not used to be able to, so someone to tell them, like, hey, you can go ahead and have. So what they'll do is, because they don't know, they'll go in and we have time where plants have been removed from the space. So we're working with the community to get them to relax and understand, like, no, this is for you. Like, this is really for you. You're not going to be in trouble if you pick something or anything like that. Like, this is yours. Come in and enjoy the space.
What is that called?
Concrete, like the concrete plant park. It used to be a concrete plant, and it was turned into that. And that was thanks to actually teenagers. They're the one that made that happen. Yes. Yes.
I do have like a website, like say if I went there, I wouldn't know what to pay for what it does, and also like what it does for me, like what herb does what or what plant.
Yeah.
Because like some of the mushrooms are poisonous, like I wouldn't know if I went there, like which mushroom do I pick, or do you have like a website, or is
I
there
do.
a website?
Yeah. Each one, carry one spelled out, .org. That's my website. You can also go to Bronx River or Bronx River Alliance.
I'm sorry, say your website again?
Each one, carry one. Yeah, one word, just word, yeah.
Okay.
.org.
Okay.
And then Bronx River Alliance. You can go to them. They'll have all the information for the foodway on their website. But every Tuesdays and Thursday we do stewardship there, where we invite people to come to actually help to remove certain plants. And then the plants that we are removing, we are teaching people what they can do with it, so that we don't want to just remove plants to throw them out. We want to remove plants so that people can take it and utilize them. So that's something that we are working on, to come up with a way where those plants that we don't want can still find a home and be utilized for medicine or food. Yes.
I used to forage for mushrooms in New England growing up every spring and fall, depending on the weather. And what's interesting is that they were sort of stakes. people would stake out territory. And I always thought, and sometimes there would be conflicts between people, you know, you're picking a nice spot.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
what's interesting about it is it kind of kept, it's sort of like unwritten rule, but don't forage on someone else's, you know, area where they forage. And I think what it did is it actually kind of maintained the ecosystem. So it prevented, you know, hordes of people coming in to, you know, pick. Everyone kept kind of separate domains for their.
That is true. But it's one thing that if once you understand the plant and their growing cycle, because that's something you do have to understand, is like you have to give plants time to grow if you want to keep coming back to that same spot. If you take everything, there's going to be nothing there. So you do understand that. So sometimes I'll see, it's like, okay, there's not enough, they're too young, I'm letting them be, right? But then there's another area where there's an overabundance, right? So that is like, okay, I can't safely forage there. I haven't experienced any conflict with any other foragers yet. But I haven't experienced that yet. So I'm pretty sure there's something that we can figure out over time.
Isn't that what you're saying is then you build a symbiotic relationship with that other forager, and the next time they find like their secret patch of brains, they'll take you some and bring you some, but
Yes.
they won't tell you where they got them. But
Yes.
you give them some of your whatever.
It's true.
morels or canderels that you found.
Like I teach foraging online, and I have students from other states. They have things that I will never find here, and they will send me some things that they have over there, and then I'll send them what I have over here. So it becomes actually a really nice exchange. I tend to focus a lot on more like the wild plants and not so much the cultivated one, because the wild one, they're doing their own thing. Looking and seeing a plant, a dandelion, busting through the concrete, I'm like, ooh, whatever it is you got, I want.
Journey, could you say something about that gorgeous basket you had?
Oh yes, this basket, I love this basket. This was actually a birthday gift from Facebook. So yes, you know, when you put stuff on Facebook, I was like, hey, there's this basket, my birthday's coming up, and people blessed me with it. I really love it, because for a while I was foraging and I always have all these various bags. So I wanted a basket, and that's what I got. And yeah, I love it. That's my companion. I didn't think it was going to be this big, but it gets filled. It gets filled real fast. Yes.
Is there any talk about changing those laws about foraging?
There are, I don't know if there are talks that are moving into actively doing it, but I know that there are talks, and this makes it a thing, because there was no of this talking about foraging in these spaces before. It just wasn't. And the pandemic brought that out, because more people, when more people started getting into something, a lot of time organizations start to like, okay, how do we address this? How do we deal with that? And one thing I don't want to see is for us to lose this right, because in Europe, folks forage all the time, and they don't have the issue that people fear here of like, oh, if we let people just forage freely, you're gonna wake up one day, go to the park, and everything is gonna be gone. Not at all. Newsflash, people are lazy, okay? Nobody wants to be going out there and foraging I'm telling you, for every little thing. No, they don't want to. They be like, you know what, when you get it, can I just get it from you? They will come to a walk, right, to have the experience. But most people, they're not. They like, I've been teaching it, and as much as I've been teaching it, I'm not seeing a flux of people jumping to go out and forage.
Oh my God, in France, there are like pitched battles in some parts of France over truffle
Yes.
places.
Yes.
They literally coming together.
But the thing about these places, France and all these places in Europe that don't have those laws, people tend to care about the space. If I'm foraging over here, yeah, I'm gonna care if people are doing whatever it is there. Every time I come, I'm gonna clean up the place. I'm gonna make sure that tree or whatever is okay, because I am there, right? I'm eating from that. But if I'm not, Yeah, I have trash. I'm throwing it out because it's not serving. In my mind, it's not serving me. I don't care about that tree. What does it do for me? That's how most people will naturally think. They will walk out of their house and not notice that they have a linden tree right in front of their house, but they'll go to the supermarket and buy linden tea. See the disconnect? You buy linden tea, but you don't know that you have a linden tree right there in front of your house. Whereas like, oh, you mean to tell me if I didn't have the money, I can just pick? Yes. And it comes really, it's not even a matter of economics. It's just a matter of our natural being right. That's just our natural right. We have to know this thing. Every other species on this planet, that's what they are taught, right? When bears and everybody else, when they have their babies, they have to show them what to eat, what not to eat, where to go, where not to go, all of that within nature. But we are lacking that. We are just being told, you see plants, danger, like stranger danger. For people, they see plant, I don't know, it might be toxic, it might be poisonous. And I'm like, why is that the first thing you think of? It's not even curious as to, I wonder. No, it's like, why? That's because that's something that we have been taught. That's something we have been told repeatedly. And I always tell my students, when was the last time you turned on the TV and you heard that X amount of people either died or was rushed to the hospital because they picked something, ate it? That's not something we hear. Not to say that it can't happen, but some things we have to just think about it for a moment. Because the medication that we do take, that we don't have no stranger danger thing against, right? We know all the cause of that and we still take it. But when nature is like, I don't know. See, so that right there is a problem, and that's what I'm saying, there's a disconnect. And we need to connect back because we're not out of nature. We are part of nature. And the moment we start to think of ourselves bigger, better, so on and so forth, we're lying to ourselves. When we're doing gardening, what are we mimicking? What are we mimicking when we're gardening? Nature. We're mimicking nature. So you're afraid of it, but you're mimicking it. So we have to do better with that. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I know the way my relationship with plants works is I like to work with them one by one because it's easier for me to learn from them that way. So different parts of my life, plants have guided me. Yeah. Do you have a plant at this stage of your life that you're really connecting with that's really guiding you?
So this year, dandelion, right? The beginning of this year, dandelion was the plant for me this year. And the way it comes to me is, I forage dandelion all the time, I know what it is, but this year, it was just standing out to me. No matter where I went, I would just see it. And this is where I'm saying sometimes we get called. It's like, I see yellow, I turn, it's dandelion, I go over there again, like dandelion, but it's not just me, it's like bright and just like, look at me. Every time it's like, look at me. And I'm like, okay, dandelion, all right, let me look a little bit deeper into this because it just keep popping up. So it has been that for me. And by doing that, I saw different parts of dandelion that I've never seen before, and I just saw it. I read it as this particular plant opening itself more to me and allowing me to see more of it. I've never seen dandelion wake and sleep, right? Until this year. Early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm outside and I'm seeing, dandelion it's closed tight, and then it's like 3 things up. I'm like, oh. Okay, and then I'm going into my walk, then I'm seeing others that are just a little bit more. And it's like different stages of opening themselves. So it's like in the morning, they open up, right? And it takes them a couple of hours to fully open up. And then by the time 11 o'clock comes, I'm walking back, they are all just full, like wide open. I'm like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. And then in the evening, they close back up. So what it said to me, what I took it as was like, okay, I need my wake and sleep time. I need to look into my wake and sleep time because look at dandelion. Once 5, 6 o'clock hit, it closes up. That's it. It's done. And no matter how many times you stomp on it, you come back the next day. When it's open, it's beautiful. So I'm like, okay, that's something I want to embark in. So that's how I actually deal and communicate with the plants.
This is just reminding me, for the first time I had this plant in this area in front of salsify, so, which is like this gigantic dandelion.
Yeah.
But what's been happening recently is it's not flowering. Like, I'm not seeing the flower, I'm just seeing that big puffball.
Yeah.
And I'm also seeing it, it's like, oh, in the morning it's out and then it closes, or it's gone away. And
Yeah.
so I'm like intrigued. I have to go back and figure out, like, is the puffball actually somehow closing itself, or every day is it dispersing and I'm seeing a different one? So that's what, and I'm like, what's that message?
Yeah. So see, the way I would look at it, because they're showing you, you're not seeing the between, right? You only seeing when it's puff, which is getting ready to, well, it's in seed, right? It's getting to seed and then have to bleed, blown away. So I would look, like for me, I would look at that as like, oh, okay, so it's in the seeding stage. All right. Am I seeding anything? Is there anything that I need to be working on or that I have that's a seed that should be or need to be dispersed to everyone? You know, that's how I will look at it.
Time for one more question.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try to make this really short. I really loved your presentation.
Oh, thank
I
you.
think that the way you brought it out with your storytelling and it's so intimate and personal, I thought that was really beautiful because
Thank
Western
you.
science often fragments us from the person, the culture, and so your appreciation for the Mbuti and your story was really beautiful. And it made me think a lot about the ways that Black Americans and people of the diaspora have a lot of displacement trauma. So when you were talking about healing that displacement trauma by connecting to the land, I think that rings true for me as well. So I was wondering if you can speak more about healing through the land. And also, I want to say that a lot of my family members see going back to the land as like a regression because it is like associated with slavery, it's associated with, going back.
Being a land.
Yes.
Right, so how can we understand that this is not just going to help us, but it's who we are?
Yes, I love that question. Thank you very much for that. It's like that trauma. It's big, right? When I was here for a while, there's this big thing out there you'll hear, and you'll be like, you'll never find Black people in the woods. You know, Black people don't play with insects. Like anything that's nature, anything, no Black person in there. And then
There's a fear that's been created.
yeah, but beyond that fear, it has been passed down, and we have said it so much that we actually believed it until one day I was like, wait a minute, wait. How are we people of the forest? Like, where were we at? And now all of a sudden, that's not our thing. We never, for me, it reminded me of that thing that we said a lot in our community, which is like, you know, the colonists came, they handed us the Bible, and then they took everything. And for me, with nature, I feel the exact same way. Now, here, right, the land trauma, because of slavery, absolutely. My way of that is just like what I look like here, is that separating people from the land, right? Slavery, the land itself didn't do that. Right? The land, if we actually dig into that story, the land saved the people. Because before we were freed, right, when they first got here, the first thing that they did, they introduced themselves to the land. The first thing that they did, they introduced themselves to the land. The first thing that they did is scan around and see what's growing, what's here, right? And because they were already familiarized, it's like, let me get to know this space. Let me go into the woods, what plant, what this. They connected with the natives who also shared with them some of the plants and some of the things. So they incurred that knowledge. We were able to birth our babies, right? When people were getting beat, when people were getting hung if they survived it, right? Someone had to heal them. Someone had to tend to them, and we did that. And we didn't do that because we were given medication and medicine. We did that because we foraged the herbs, the plants from the land. So the land was keeping us alive and thriving, which is why going back is not about the people, right? It's about the land, because when we go back, and the way I'm saying to connect with the land, something just as simple like you see a plant, right? Just take notice of it. What I tell people is like, walk around your neighborhood. You don't even have to go far. Just walk around your neighborhood. What tree or plants are growing around your neighborhood, right? Make stock of that first. Once you have that, then find the names of those trees and plants. Then do research. Is it medicinal? Is there any medicinal uses or edibility to this thing? And then you'll find, and you'll be like, oh my God, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. And little by little, when Black people are doing that, or anybody that wants to connect with nature and just do it through that way, there is feelings that come through you. There's voices, there is different things. You connect with that because plants, nature communicate with us through feelings, through thought, through images, to all of that. But you have to be connected within to pick up that. And once you pick up and you was like, oh shoot, this is witch hazel? I've been buying witch hazel all this time. This is how to get it? So then it's like, you want to be childlike, you know, like curiosity. And if you're childlike, you're going to be like, ooh. And then you see another plant, you're like, okay, I'll be back for you later. Let me finish this one first. And then you become joyful. And if you do it as a family, right, it passed down and it actually reaches more people within your family. And who knows? Because we always had someone in a community that knew the land, that knew the herbs, that knew all of that. We don't have that anymore. And we should look at what we don't have because we're disconnected from the land. If you look at our health, not knowing when it's an emergency and not an emergency, not knowing when to do with simple things, that's big. So we need to reclaim that and get that back. And I'm going to throw you one more, right? And one thing that I'm taking on, I feel like, because as a child, you know, once you go to school, sometimes they'll tell you, your grandma's soup, she don't know what she's talking about. That's not going to do anything. She gives you what? Let me go home and mommy or grandma trying to hand you, oh no, we got to go to the pharmacy. You got to take me to the doctor. Let me give me this and that. I don't want that. We started to reject information from our elders as well. Right? So for me, for that, I feel like we also, all of us also have to take accountability in that, in denying grandma, right? We have to take accountability. And the way you take accountability is that you reclaim that. You claim that right back. You learn those things again and you build, but you build better. You build better so it can stand and it can stand strong and continue to build with it. That's how I see it. Thank you.
That was so amazing. I'm always in awe of you, the knowledge you share, and I'm so touched. Thank you for coming here, for being part of our community and sharing your knowledge. So now we're gonna go on a foraging walk. We were gonna cap it at 20 people, but it looks like there's about 20 people here, minus staff. If you all have the availability, we're about to take a walk in the garden and learn a little bit more from Journei.
Yes, let's go on a walk. Thank you.